The problem with the aggregation wizard is that it's theoretical, based on counts of dimensions relative to facts. There's really no point creating aggregations if they don't help queries that are actually executing. Fortunately, we can use usage-based optimization to find out what queries are running and can design aggregations to better support those queries. To work with usage-based optimization, we first need to configure the query log on the analysis server. Here are the 4 properties we need to set. By default, the query logging mechanism is not enabled, so we'll need to set the create query log table property to true. We'll also need to provide a connection string for our SQL Server database where we want to store the log. In addition, we need a sampling rate. In the beginning, you should change this to 1 to capture every query. And last, we identify the name of the table in which to store the query log data. Now, if we create a query log table name and it doesn't exist already, Analysis Services will create it. But if it already exists, it just continues to use that table. When we've finished capturing log data, we can clear the connection string to discontinue logging. However, if we do keep the query logging active, Analysis Services periodically deletes records from the table when we make structural changes that impact aggregation design. For example, if we change the number of measures in a measure group, or change the number of dimensions associated with a measure group, or change the number of attributes defined for a dimension, Analysis Services is going to delete records in the OLAP query log. After we enable usage-based optimization, we need to let user queries execute for a period of time, say a week or a month. During that time, usage information about queries is added to the OLAP query log. This table tracks queries by database, the partition queried, and the user. It also records the dataset being used and notes the start time as well as the query duration. Now the dataset is in a format that's not very usable for us, but it matches the query subcube event that we see in Profiler. When we're ready to design aggregations based on usage, we launch the usage-based optimization wizard. And one of the things we can do there in the wizard is to filter the contents of the OLAP query log by date, by user, or by the most frequent queries. If we need to filter by other criteria, such as our slowest queries, we can delete rows out of the OLAP query log manually so that we retain only the records of interest in that table. As we continue through the wizard, we can see some information about the queries. The dataset has been translated into dimension attributes to make it easier for us to interpret. Specifically, we see the attributes used, the frequency of that particular combination of attributes in a query, and the average duration of the query. Now, we cannot change any information here. We can just sort it and see what kind of activity has been captured. The remainder of the usage-based optimization wizard is very similar to the aggregation design wizard.